Hey guys, I'm just going to show you what I usually have tied on my rods when I'm not fishing so I can just pick them up and leave. Okay, the first rod is basically this rod I use for like salmon and lake trout and stuff like that. And usually what I'll have tied on those is spoons like this one and this one. And also I'll tie on crankbaits like this one. These have little beads in them. You can hear them. That's usually what I tie on that rod. The second rod is usually the one I use for like rainbow trout, brown trout, brook trout, smallmouth bass, stuff like that. And usually I'll put on like little tiny Mepps spinners, stuff like this. Then I'll tie in sometimes spoons that are kind of like this, and swim baits, which if you don't know what a swim bait is, this has a little paddle tail right here, so it looks like a fish when it's in the water and swimming. And I'll tie on these, sometimes I'll tie on rooster tails and Senkos. And that's pretty much it though. The third rod is my ultralight. And usually what I'll tie on that is I'll tie on twirly tail grubs, little tiny white ones. And so, usually when I'm catching panfish, just like off a ledge or something and they're under rocks, I'll tie on little flies. Because you don't have to cast out with these when you're over the ledge and the fish are just right under you. You just dip them down and catch a fish with those. And then sometimes I'll have this tiny little spoon. This is one of the smallest spoons that I have. And I'll have that on sometimes. The fourth rod is usually the one I use for catfish and largemouth bass tournaments. And usually what I'll have on, if I know I'm going catfishing next time, then I'll have a big treble hook on and then like a weight and some beads up at the top. And if I'm going to do a bass tournament or if I'm going to target bigger largemouth bass, then I'll have a buzz bait on like this, little buzz bait. Or I'll have a spinner bait on, which is the spinner bait. You can see this when you reel it. The blade hits the top of the water and makes a ton of commotion. Looks like a thing on the top. And then this sits on the water, and sometimes I'll put a trailer on it like this. And what I like to do when I use a trailer with these swim bait trailers things is I'll cut it like this, and then you get a super tight wobble. And when you don't cut it like that, they'll get a super wide wobble like this. But if you cut it like that, then they get a super tight wobble. And then I'll tie on top waters like this popper. And something I've actually realized that with the trailers is you put a Senko or a trick worm on there. Let me grab a Senko real quick. Is you tie this on here, and I've actually caught a lot of fish doing this, is you put it on there, and basically the trailer will sit like this. And then what I like to do is usually when I'm going to do it as a trailer, I'll trim it to right about there where my fingers are. And then I'll put it on the spinner bait and I'll jig it up and down. And that usually works. Okay, then the last rod is my fly rod. And then usually what I'll have tied on, because I usually fish for trout and panfish with my fly rod, I'll have little tiny flies, little nymphs. Like this one right here. Or this one. And then lots of times during the summer, if I'm fishing for panfish and trout, in early spring, I'll use top waters. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, guys.